I'm going to hand over to our diamond sponsors, Eric and Amanda from Zion and Zion. They are the leaders of the CDP Center of Excellence that Eric has talked about. So I will welcome them to the stage. Thank you, Eric. Here you go. Here you go, Eric. Best of luck.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. First, I want to say we're not the only leaders in the Center of Excellence. Actually, can I get our other CDP Center of Excellence members from Zion and Zion to put up their hands? Stand up. Stand up, take a bow. Okay. So most of those people, plus others, were all deeply involved in the use case that we're going to show you today. It was for a client, or it is for a client by the name of Closet Factory, one of the country's 3 top designers, manufacturers, installers of custom closets, cabinetry, garage, pantries, libraries, et cetera. And I believe Sarah, who's on the marketing team from there and is also one of the CEO's daughter as well. She's been involved with the business for many, many years, is here with us as well, and we appreciate all her cooperation in developing this use case. So before I get started and go into the details, one, I want to say, let's make this interactive. You don't have to hold questions to the end. Something comes to mind you want to ask, feel free, put up your hand. We want this to go way beyond hype. It's beyond the concept or the promise of AI or zero-party data. It's actually what we are doing with AI, what we are doing with zero-party data, and what we're doing with CDP and linking them together. Before we get into the meat of it, though, we are going to play you a little video that is approximately a 2-minute track of a conversation between a customer calling into the Closet Factory call center and the customer service rep listening and talking on the other end. When you see words animate on the screen, you'll only see the customer's words animating, and you'll see some of those words highlighted in pink. So it's a little, like, why am I listening to this? Well, just pay attention, and we'll talk more about it in about 2 minutes when it's over.
Thank you for calling Closet Factory. This is Sue. How may I help you?
Hi, I'm looking to get my closet done.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely help with that. Is it a walk-in? Is it a reach-in closet?
Yes, we have a walk-in closet, but I've got a few questions first.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I can help with that.
Okay, so what does the process look like? I guess I'm wondering if someone's gonna come to my house, or is there a showroom somewhere nearby that I should plan to visit?
Yeah, so you'll be paired with a professional designer who will help you design your space. They'll come to your house, they'll take measurements, inventory all the items in your closet, all before creating a design for you.
Okay, cool. So you're gonna bring examples of wood colors and other materials when you come too? I've been thinking about a specific design, but I really want to make sure it fits my vision.
Yeah, we'll bring samples. We have the largest selection, actually, of styles and colors and finishes in the industry, so you'll have lots to choose from.
Okay, great. I love choice, and I do want a professional designer to give recommendations to fit everything in. We're in a condo, so there's not a lot of space, and really I need someone to help us organize it.
Our designers are great at doing that. They'll talk with you about what you're wanting, give you some ideas of how to maximize your space, so we can absolutely help with that.
Okay, great. Do you have any deals that you're running right now?
Oh, like discounts, yeah. We actually happen to have a 15% off offer running right now for new customers.
Great, okay. I'm still thinking about it, and if it's something I can afford right now, it might be something I have to wait on, but a discount obviously would really help.
Totally understand that. Our closets, you should know, are fully custom, so when you work with your designer, you can create something that's within your budget, whatever you're looking to spend.
Oh, good to know. Okay. I think I need to think about it a little more, and I'll probably call back when I've talked to my husband and we're ready to make an appointment.
That sounds great. Thanks for calling. We look forward to hearing from you.
All right, thank you.
All right. So there was a ton of information in that call. way more than any customer service rep sitting in front of a Salesforce screen would be able to record in a CRM. And if you were trying to jot down notes and check off boxes that my husband is involved, I live in a condo, I'm budget conscious, et cetera, you'd never be able to keep up with the conversation with the customer and stay focused on that. And you wouldn't also be able to guide the conversation actively in directions that you wanted to. So we have all of this zero-party data embedded in a call like this. And it's useful. And if a marketer were sitting there, they'd be sitting there scratching notes profusely and saying, wow, I've learned a lot about the customer. I wish I could personally activate for this particular customer in a certain way based on all of this data. But that is not really practical. And yes, there are certainly call tracking systems, call center systems out there today that will listen for a keyword, like what product did I hear? Did I hear closet? Did I hear garage? But what you tend not to find is the heavily contextual information. The difference between I'm not worried about budget and what kind of budget would I need for a project like this? One is not price sensitive, one is price sensitive. And then yes, there are systems out there that allow you to get some of that contextual information, but they're not highly configurable. You can't choose your own large language model LLM. You have to go with whatever the vendor provides. You can't set what's called temperature, so risk tolerance. For example, if I get it wrong that they're interested in a garage versus a closet, that's a big risk, showing them the wrong product in follow-up marketing activities. But if I get it wrong that that they may be interested in quoting 3 rooms versus 4 rooms, that's a lower risk kind of thing. So a lot of the out-of-the-box solutions, you can't control that parameter called temperature, which is a number between 0 and 1 when you're programming, and we can introduce you to people who can go in even more depth, when you're programming, interfacing via an API to an LLM to set the degree of risk tolerance you're willing to endure. So there are a lot of reasons to want to do this in a finely tuned, customized way, plus total control over the prompt engineering and fine-tuning the large language models. Okay, so that said, what today will be about is primarily 2 things. One, showing you the system architecture that we built to deliver value to the client, taking it all the way from extracting the zero-party data, building the custom AI, interfacing it to Google Cloud, to Tealium, to Pardot, to Salesforce, and ultimately to custom marketing activations through custom creative, and you'll see some of that in here as well. The other thing is that Amanda will go through 4 of the specific use cases. There are many, and how they were derived. And the other thing I'd like people to really take away is this didn't take 2 years, 1 year, 9 months, 6 months. From concept and contract signature of the client with Tealium to full prototype implementation and ready for launch, 90 days. Using a CDP Center of Excellence approach that brought together our people in data engineering, Tealium implementation, CX strategy, AI engineering. The client was really, really generous and trusting, and hopefully we've continued to earn that trust, Sarah, in letting us have a relatively free hand, with the goal being speed is important. And the client will edit it and monitor and comment, et cetera. But how fast can we get to value? And I think 90 days is a record, because I've been involved in many Tealium implementations, and most people are lucky if they get abandoned cart up in 90 days. So we're really, really excited about this. And one of the goals of this project was to demonstrate, as one of the goals, how effective can an agile CDP Center of Excellence be when they put their minds to it and they have the cooperation of the client, and time to value is one of the #1 goals. Okay, so that said, let's jump into, and again, feel free, questions along the way to stop me. So this is the architecture. So we have the client, right? Call comes into the call center. In this case, the call tracking system was Marchex, but could it have been Invoca, who you're going to hear from later today, or somebody else? It absolutely could. All portions of this architecture are flexible. We use Google Cloud, but it could have been Snowflake, it could have been AWS. There are other ways to do it. From there, we basically took calls via the MarchX API, extracted them, brought them into Google Cloud, and then used PaLM 2, which is a large language model that is very good for classification, but we're also using other ones because different ones we're finding are better at identifying different elements of the call. So one of the key areas of flexibility is knowing what language model to bring to bear. And then from there, we use that to classify and extract certain things from the call, store it in the warehouse, pass it off to Tealium, build audiences, and activate from there. And activations across Google Ads, Facebook, Bing, Pinterest, a bunch of platforms. And then this is also tied into Salesforce and Pardot. And you have direct connections here because there are conversion tracking reasons that we want the calls to be fed directly into Salesforce. But there are also activation reasons, which is why it makes its way to Tealium. So let me just pause there for a second if there are any questions on this. Not that we can't go back later. Okay, Nathan. Not planted, I just happen to know Nathan. Okay. That's a great question. So Nathan asks, what is the plan for updating the system as new models are released? So there is a plan, there is a process for doing that, for periodically trying out other models, using the training data, testing how it classifies things against what we will already have, right, a database of what right answers are, which actually brings up an interesting point. For the fine-tuning part of this, it only took about 100 calls. And what's also interesting, I'll point this out, is we went top down and bottoms up almost simultaneously. So what I mean is we let one of our AI engineers, Alex, who's in the room here with us today, loose on the data. And we said, figure out what the heck you can get out of this data. Don't worry about strategy initially, go play. You have 30 days, come back. We went to the CX team, part of our Center of Excellence, and said, you understand the client, you understand the brand, you listen to these calls, you were responsible for the new UX of the site we're building, et cetera. Strategically, what are all the things you would want to know in order to personalize a journey? We kept them apart, and then 30 days later, we brought them together and we said, now knowing what you think strategically and now knowing what you know capability-wise, where's the intersection of these two and what use cases are practical? So again, that's that classic, right? Not keeping IT and marketing separate, although intentionally separate for a little while, but under the control of people that could have a vision across both and then put them together at the right moment in order to achieve value. So that was a really exciting part of this project because there were moments along the way where people would say, well, wait a minute, shouldn't I be talking to so-and-so? And sometimes the answer is, not yet, in 2 weeks. I don't want you to talk to them yet. I don't want you to be distracted by what's not possible, for example. I want you to have free strategic thinking, and then we'll constrain it by practicality later. So great question. Anything else on here right now? Yeah.
I understand the overall architecture, call flow, and everything about that. Was this a cold call example coming in? And what context did you have about the caller to be able to activate against those targets down there?
Okay, so
was there consent involved?
is it a caller to a call center? The answer is yes. And then what was the rest of your question?
Was it a cold call?
No. This was a customer calling in to the Closet Factory call center.
Okay. And they already provided consent to be activated against? And
Yeah, so that's a great question, the privacy implications. So one of the things we did is we work with a very large global privacy law firm. They actually work in privacy law and labor law, so very, very, very interrelated, and worked with them to what kind of consent did we need. Basically, people are advised when the calls come in that the calls are going to be recorded to potentially improve customer experience. And their opinion was that's fine also because we're not using technology to do anything that a person who manually could sit there with a really fast pen could do themselves. We've simply automated the process. People listen to calls in call centers all the time and escalate the call to somebody because there's been a problem. You get sentiment analysis. Those things come out of the box in pretty much every call tracking system where you do activate on those. So we don't see any privacy implications at the moment. One thing, though, we are digging into is while people don't typically submit data deletion requests, we are looking at how would we get their data out of all of these systems if we did get a full-blown data deletion request. Anything else? Yeah, go ahead. And we have very few charts, so the questions are good.
I was just curious if you were envisioning an architecture where you could pull in real time within the moment of the call center agent session.
Yeah.
To have like a RAG pipeline to be able to sort of enrich.
Yeah, so to feed the call center agent with how to interact on the call.
Don't want to,
yeah,
or anything on what you've done, but I just wondering if.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So that's an evolution, but the initial goal was to get personalized marketing activation. But that's a great question. Like, how real time can we get the data? Can we get it to feed into the, into a call center rep, et cetera? I think we can, but what I will say is there may be better ways to do that than what we have here. But it is under consideration for an evolution.
So once you've derived these insights using the language model, are you then storing all those in Audience Stream for future reference? Do you sort of bundle them up into some sort of profile?
Yeah, so basically, first they get stored in the warehouse, so we have them, and then they make their way into the Customer 360 in Tealium. Yeah. Any others? Okay, well, we can go back. This may trigger other questions. So, wanted to give you, there are a lot of technical elements for this. And again, I always want people to remember, we got the prototype done in 90 days. So no matter how overwhelming some of this may seem, it can be done really fast with a focused approach. I wanted to show you this because we went through multiple iterations of trying to get the data as accurate as possible. And what you're looking at here is just one of the parameters. In this case, was it, I believe this had to do, was it new business, add-on business, et cetera, et cetera. And in this case, in the first iteration of trying to determine whether we were getting accurate data, manual checks of the data told us we were only 63% accurate. Through rounds of prompt engineering, so specifically 11 rounds of prompt engineering, because we also had the AI team keep track of the progress on the project so we could go back and reflect later on, we got to 93% accuracy. Now, this did not use, for this parameter, we didn't use fine-tuning the LLM, we just used prompt engineering. So essentially using the API for Gemini, not GPT, but for Google Gemini, in order to feed prompts, in order to get it, to classify things correctly. However, there were other cases where this was also done through prompt engineering, looking at purchase intent. But then when we got to, let me get to this one here, whether the person was interested, to what extent they were interested in aesthetic concerns, design concerns, versus process concerns. You can imagine some people on calls, how does the process work? When does this happen? When does that happen? How long does it take, et cetera? Versus other people that are more asking about materials and aesthetics, things like that. So that was one of the parameters we wanted to assess. And you might say, well, wait a minute, in follow-up email or display ads or whatever, wouldn't you want to get all of that to a customer? Let's say they set an appointment and you're going to be out there 17 days later doing the design for their closet or their garage or their pantry. And the answer is, well, exactly how many emails are you going to send somebody in, let's say, a hypothetical 17-day window? You have to be selective. You have to determine what is most important to the client. And if you know that they are heavily process-oriented, and that's going to be a source of stress, we're going to want to focus material on keeping them calm and informed on process information in, let's say, that 17-day window before the designer shows up to do the diagrams of the closet and garage, et cetera, versus somebody who is far more interested in aesthetics, where we're going to want to show them lots of, the art of the possible sort of thing. So the prioritization is really, really important, because we can't just say take everything that matters to the customer and let's just activate on all of it. We have to make choices. In this case, the early stages, the early iterations, were in the 50-60% range of getting this accurate with prompt engineering, but then we swapped to also fine-tuning the LLM, and we got into the 90s. Another thing that came up a lot was we have to be concerned with the consequences of getting it wrong. If I get it wrong that you were interested more in process and I thought you were interested in aesthetics, it's not going to hurt if I inform the person interested in aesthetics more about the process and I lost an opportunity or two to show them beautiful designs. It will hurt if I think that they have a family of 6 with kids' playrooms and I show them a closet for a condominium that maximizes the usage of small square footage. So the level of risk tolerance on certain parameters definitely mattered, and the degree of tolerance we had for getting something, right versus wrong also mattered. All right, other questions? If not, I'll turn it over to Amanda to walk through some specific use cases. Question?
How do you deal with identity resolution from when the call comes in to then emailing them or?
That is a great question. Where's Jack? Jack, I'm going to let you answer that one.
Yeah, so when the user visits the site, they get a custom number through Marchex. And so we're collecting the Tealium visitor ID, sending that over to Marchex. And when that data is coming into our warehouse and we're running through all these models, we're connecting the output of those models with the visitor ID so that we're able to send that back into Tealium. So that's how we solve the identity resolution.
How do we know their email address was the question. So we have 2 scenarios here. One, where they become known, and during the call, they provide the email address. So obviously we captured it there. But this can also work with anonymous, as long as we're not counting on activating via email. So let's say somebody calls in, they have like that caller you heard in the recording. They said, okay, if I'm interested, I'll call back. They never provided any information, contact information, but we can still go after them marketing-wise, anonymously, and still use all of those activation channels, just not Pardot in this case, because we don't know their email. But we still have ways to nurture them and now make the nurtures incredibly specific to the types of things they asked about on the call. One of the benefits, a lot of people ask us, like, lifecycle marketing tools can cross over these days with CDPs. Lifecycle tools don't handle anonymous data. So that is like a major win for a CDP like Audience Stream, being able to deal with those anonymous users. Great question. Do I hear another question?
Change the structure of the questions that were being asked in the contact center to try to get a better.
That is a really great question.
I can see that happening.
So that is an early follow-up phase to then coach the CSRs on, here's where you should guide the conversations. Let's see what else we can capture, because if we could capture this, we want to do something with it. So that is a really fast follow on the evolution of this, coaching those people. Yeah?
Just from the diagram, I'm curious, why GTM over IQ?
In this particular case, we did discuss that. The client already had GTM in place, and the team said they're just not going to need that enterprise level tag management for what we're after. So it was more, if they had nothing to start, maybe we would have gone with TIQ, but we actually just didn't need to. Although it has now come up, and actually Sarah from Closet Factory raised this, if we do want to get into using Moments IQ, then we either need a full-blown or a light version of TIQ in order to do that. And that may indeed play into this because now we may want to capture zero-party data through fast surveys on the site and questioning, in which case we may come back and actually do TIQ instead. Great question. Glad you brought that up. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have them in your use cases, right? I'll tell you what, I'm gonna give her thunder, and she will specifically focus on that. I could, but she's even better. Yeah. Oh, was that a question? Or just a wave? Okay, got it. A picture. I had my picture taken. All right. Anything else before I turn it over to Amanda? Oh, yeah.
Does your architecture take into account any human-in-the-loop feedback for continuing to improve models over time?
So process-wise, yes, like a set schedule for reviewing classifications and determining whether we think the accuracy is still there. Because one thing we have found is that, on a mini scale, if you're using ChatGPT, you'll find this too. You'll ask the exact same question twice, and you'll get a different answer. So it does require monitoring to watch where these models are drifting to and how they're evolving over time, and whether new models are getting introduced that might do a better job. One in the back. Have we run A/B tests of these personalized campaigns and? So no, not yet. It is completely doable, but I'm going to use, for the moment, my salesman's shoes analogy, which is I have absolutely no proof whatsoever that if I walk into a sales meeting and my shoes are all scuffed up, that it will hurt my ability to get the deal, but I would never walk into a meeting with my shoes all scuffed up. So my point being, some of these things, the need for personalization, customers' appreciation of it, trying to just do a better job, even if your goal were not financially motivated and it were just, I want to give the best customer experience possible, you would be driven to give people relevant, timely information. So we're treating that as a North Star as opposed to, and this is one of the reasons we're able to get there in 90 days. We said it'll be cheaper to do it and get there in 90 days and let's see how it goes than it will be to sit around for another 6 months thinking about whether this is the exact way to go about it. The learnings have been so dramatic that now we can do a lot more very, very quickly. But no, we haven't done any formal testing on this. Yeah.
Did you find any need to feed confidence level data about your classifications into activations on Tealium to determine whether or not you feel like you should activate based on how confident it is?
So in other words, setting up audience rules to take into account. So we don't get, and Alex Labuda can correct me are we feeding the confidence levels of the data into Tealium basically to make it part of the rules in order to determine whether, if this thing is a 0.7 or above, then include them in the audience. So one, Alex Labuda, where are you? Right here? Currently, no. Is that data capturable, though? Okay, so yes, we could. No, we haven't. But here's the great news. Like I said, having done this so quickly, if somebody said, it's a must, come back, do that, we'd have that in days at this point. Yeah. So we're going to steal your idea and add that to the list. Thank you. Your check will arrive shortly. Anything else? All right, Amanda, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Right. So like Eric said, we came at this really from two angles. On one side, we came from what is the art of what's possible? And on the other side, we came from a really strategic point of view of what are the use cases, what are we actually hearing on these calls, and how could we activate upon that? So I'm going to take you through 4 use cases, and we're going to see in action examples of some call transcripts, the kind of zero-party data we would deduct from that, the attributes or classifications that we would apply from a call like that, and then ultimately how we would activate upon that in different channels. So in our first use case, we are looking here, you can see on the left-hand side, we have the call transcript with some of the pieces of information we might deduct. That's zero-party data. So we have here a customer saying, I'm considering redoing my master bedroom closet in my condo. You're more expensive than the competitors. Can you explain to me what your process is like? And I'm not ready to book an appointment today, but I'll call back later. So what we're learning from this call, or how we would apply attributes or classifications to that, would be this is a new customer. They've told us it's a closet. They've told us it's a condo. They're information seeking. They're not quite ready to book that consultation yet. They are price sensitive. They've mentioned budget, as well as they care about the process. They want to know what the steps are to come. So when we're talking about how we would activate upon that, we can look at 4 different channel examples of how we would actually take the information that customer has given us directly and then put that into different channels. So from a media perspective, when we're looking at display, Facebook, Instagram, just as some examples, we can see that the messaging that across all channels is really focusing on that price sensitivity here of this customer. So aligning the messaging across these different channels of can we provide them with discounts to help persuade them to book that consultation. Also bringing in messaging or personalization on their web experience as well. And then also they've told us information like this is a condo. So that can come out in the imagery that we're showing to this customer to help it make it feel very resonant with them, that you're not showing me a dressing room that is a 3,000 square foot space. You're showing me something that's really relevant for me. So we have a few visual examples of how this could play out in creative, just so you can visualize here. So as we mentioned, this is a price-sensitive customer. So an example of a Facebook ad where we can see that we're bringing in that price-sensitive messaging here for this customer that hasn't made this decision yet, and we would want to drive them forward in the process. And then carrying across that consistency of messaging into the web experience as well, bringing in that % off there as well. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt,
No,
but
you're fine.
I was curious, where are you actually applying those call classifications? Is that in Marchex or Tealium?
Those would be within Tealium. We would apply attributes and create audiences as a result of that.
So like the new home and all of those are in Tealium?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Great question. All right. Looking at our second use case, we have a little bit similar situation here that we do have, again, a new customer. Although in this instance, the customer is telling us on the call they want to redo their garage, so we have a different space. They're also asking questions like, am I able to customize the things, how I like them, what kind of add-ons do you guys have? You heard that in our call example we listened to at the beginning. When we hear that, what that's telling us as marketers is this person cares about the choice of design. They want to see the different options that they have to create a space that really resonates with them. So when we're deducting the classifications or the attributes here, we're seeing for this customer, they've told us it's a house, they've told us it's a garage space, and that they're very design focused. And in this instance, the customer actually did book an appointment. So we know that in our messaging, we don't have to drive as much to get them to book that consultation because they've taken that step. But they may still be considering different competitors at this point, so we want to add a lot of value. So when we activate upon that, you'll see the same channels here. Just a change of messaging. We can change out that imagery to show more of a garage rather than a bedroom closet. And we can also add in different things like email here and really speaking to the messaging of that design aspect of the process. So a few visual creative examples you can see here as well. Same channel as before, just different messaging, different imagery applied to that customer. And then a different channel here, this is an example of house, and you can see that we're really speaking to that design aspect because that customer has told us that they care about that, so we really want to show that value. A slightly different example here, we have an existing customer, so someone who has previously worked with Closet Factory before, and now they're coming back, they're moving to a new build home. They've told us that on the call, and they've told us that they want us to do all the bedrooms in their house plus their pantry. So some of the attributes here, one that's really, I think, interesting is the new home. It's a new build, so how can we cater the messaging specifically to that? When we talk about the crawl, walk, run here, on the crawl phase as far as activation goes, one small step would be maintaining that suppression on media because we know that this customer has worked with us before, they have a certain level of commitment, and so it's a little bit too impersonal for the customer at this stage. So deprioritizing media and then focusing really on that web personalization, email, and SMS, which are a lot more personal channels for a customer at this point. So again, some visual examples here for creative emails. Welcome back, let's get cooking, because they've told us they want to do that pantry space, bringing in that imagery of the pantry. And then also changing our messaging on the homepage of the website as well to cater that experience to a returning customer. So we're suppressing any of that messaging about first-time offers, and we're also changing our hero headline there to come home to everything in its space. So really speaking to that aspect of a new home. Those are the 3 that we'll go through today. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
Any metrics on the results from a marketing spend perspective going down, conversion?
Not yet, because the prototype is complete, all the creative is complete. You saw a new website design on there, so our UX and design team is finishing up the design of the new site. This is like pull the trigger, launch, but it actually hasn't been set live yet. But it is all built.
Yeah.
It seems like in addition to classifying all of the natural language that you're getting from the customers, you had to go through a process of classifying all of the marketing material. I'm curious what that looked like and how the marketing team tagged all of their images, their ads, their headline copy to make that personalization work at scale.
Do you want to speak to
I'll take that one. So one, our team had the nice fortune, since we handle all aspects of marketing for the client, that we were able to do all the design and copywriting work for the client. So everything you've seen there, our team had built with the input of the client. Second part to your question, we've been asked this before about the scaling. So this isn't an exponential problem. In other words, all possibilities do not multiply together to create endless permutations, combinations. In other words, we don't need creative for condo versus house versus office, family versus times, family versus not, times only garage, only closet, only pantry, closet and garage, et cetera. That would create an exponential complexity. It's more about deciding rule-wise which are the top attributes that are most important and in what combination should they be used, knowing that you're going to have a limited number of activation touch points you can do. But you would not find a condo email that also contained imagery and messaging about family, that also contained, stuff about closets and reaching closets, et cetera. We wanted to avoid the exponential complexity of that. But great question.
All right, I think we're at time.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.